Joy juice.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Alara Canfield Show, the Awakened Happiness Now Global Series. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And today, my good friend Jean Logan is back with us, and we are talking about ultimate health and regeneration of our body. And some of what we're going to talk about today is going to include restoring and enhancing our immune system, detoxing our body, using the glyphs for prevention, letting go of toxic beliefs. Cold and flu season is starting in North America and Europe, so we might talk a little bit about that. And whatever else. We're going to be taking live caller questions. So if you're here with us live on the Zoom, you can raise your hand or type your question in the chat. And for those of you who do not know Jean, Dr. Jean Logan is an Earth Ambassador and ordained minister. She has a doctorate in nutritional healing and has an extensive knowledge of many types of energy healing. As a conscious channel, Jean receives a language of light in the form of symbols and glyphs that are empowered by electronic impulses from the central sun. She is the author of Unlocking the Power of Glyphs, Sacred Symbols of Light, Symbols of the Dawn, Sacred Symbols of the New Age, and Sacred Symbols Healing Cards. And her books are now in over 100 countries, with profits going to provide services to Indigenous children. And I know a lot of you already have her books, and so you're going to have lots of questions to ask about what glyph can I use for this or that, or all sorts of wonderful questions. So let's get started. And Jean, welcome back to the show. So glad you're here.
Thank you, Alara. I'm just delighted to be here again. It's always lots of fun.
It is, isn't it? We always have so many wonderful questions that come in from our viewers, our community, and you always seem to have even more information about how we can use these powerful and magical glyphs for healing, for empowerment, for protection, just for all sorts of different things. And I always have questions myself, like, okay, what glyph can I use for this, right? So it's always such an informative conversation, and so it's always so wonderful. So I love it. And like I said, we are going to be taking live caller questions. So if you do have a question for Dr. Jean, just raise your hand or type your question in the chat. And so let's get started, Jean, talking a little bit about, let's talk about, what does ultimate health mean? And also regeneration of our bodies. How can we regenerate our bodies? Especially at this time we're in the fall now, middle of November. So we are also hitting the cold and flu season, starting to get colder out there. We're starting to get more closed in our houses as well, so not getting as much fresh air and sunshine. So a lot of that impacts us, doesn't it?
Right. The first thing I want to discuss is there are a lot of forces out there trying to make us believe we can't regenerate ourselves, that we're going to catch the cold and the flu. And they have it down where everywhere you turn, people watch the TV and somebody sneezing and advertising products for the cold and flu season. And I think the one most important thing, I'm going to jump down to letting go of toxic beliefs. You need to realize that you are being programmed and manipulated when you see these people, whether it's in the TV or magazine, all the sneezing and advertising. I want everybody to understand you are divine. You have the power of God, and you can declare yourself to total immunity. The toxic belief is when you believe that you can catch something, you turn yourself into a walking petri dish. And everybody's probably thinking, oh, that's crazy. But think about Jesus. Would he walk in with a thing on his face and going to get shot in his a thing in his arm? And one of the things, and I don't preach the Bible, but one of the messages was that know ye that we have the power that he does. Okay. And this is a goal that we need to work toward. I haven't had a cold or flu for over 20 years. I don't believe in them. I believe in my immunity, and you can too. The thing is that you have to let go of the things we've been programmed. And We've got to change the programming instead of, oh, I'm afraid I'm catching a cold, or my son or my daughter-in-law came with a cold and I'm going to catch it, and all that. We create our reality. Okay, remember that. You create your reality. And if you think you can catch something, then you can. If you get to the point where you believe you are immune, then you are. But what it takes is you have to get rid of all the fear and all the negativity in your body, because that's holding in all that negative programming. And I gave up. I got rid of my TV set 15 years ago. I don't need that thing. And it's just a programming device. And I do my programming. When I get up in the morning, I say, I am divine. I have the power of God. I am the love. I am the light. I just have a little affirmation every morning when you get up. Remind yourself you are divine. Remind yourself of you, not just a connection to the divine, but you have that divinity within you. And it's time we wake up and make that connection there, because we can do it. But one of the things we need to understand is that every 7 years, every cell in our body has been replaced. And we decide when the cells are, old cells die and new ones are coming in, there's the fraction of a second where the body is saying, are we coming in the same? Are we regenerating? Or are we getting older? And you decide. You tell your cells, listen to every thought and word you have. You are the orchestra conductor, and your cells are the orchestra, and they will play every tune you tell it to play. And if you tell it healing and health, and I am beautiful, I am wonderful, and I am perfect, and I'm getting better every day, I'm getting younger, I am youthing, and just believe in your power. It takes, now the first book I wrote, Unlocking the Power of Glyphs, has all these glyphs that remove the negative emotions. And when I started writing the glyphs, I was a mess. I was a real mess. I was a frightened, very frightened person, and fear controlled my life. When I graduated from high school, I was offered a paid-for college education that I turned down because I was afraid I would have to speak in front of people. And so, but in my whole life was always just, every decision in my life was based on fear. And so but I really was dedicated to moving myself forward. I was a seeker. And I just kept asking for, why am I here? And what am I said, I can remember saying, I want to take the highest road and do the most I can and be the most I can in my life, which is pretty, when you're a person in fear, that's pretty daring. That's pretty daring.
Absolutely.
I knew that I definitely didn't want to write a book, and I didn't want to get up and speak in front of people.
And look what you're doing.
Yes, I am. I can't believe it's me. I'm an introvert. I just want to stay in my little shell.
But your
So,
gifts were needed, your talents were needed, your energy and wisdom was needed for all of us, right?
right. And so one time when I was meditating, I saw this, somebody writing script on a blackboard, and I felt like that was telling me to try guided writing. And after some trial and error, first of all, and I encourage everybody to try that, everybody, because we all have spirit guides that want to talk to us and communicate with us. If you don't know how to do it, they're right there, ready to help you. But anyway, I got a lot of gibberish at first, and it's easy to get discouraged, because emptying your mind and letting it flow is not that easy. But after some trial, I finally was getting messages from my guides, and it took a lot of patience, but I finally got there. So, and that was part of the beginning. I got a glyph from somebody in the mail, and it said it would remove parasites that held fear in our body. And I thought, oh, amen, there's something I really need. And so when I tried that glyph, I must have been guided to put it on my solar plexus. I could feel the tremendous activity going on. And I thought, whoever has that much power that they could put that in energy into a drawing on a piece of paper, I can do that. We can all do that. Isn't anything we all can't do? And so that began, I started, and finally I realized that one of the things that was holding us all back is our negative emotions. And so one of the first glyphs that I wrote was the one for fear. And I put a copy of that after you create the glyph and you program it, and then you have a ceremony, I was told. I thought, okay, I was a Catholic, I can do that. Candle, prayer, okay, that's ceremony. That's right, I can do that. And so, but one of the first ones I created, it was a little trial and error at first, but then I created one to remove fear. And when I put it on my solar plexus, I could feel the stuff coming out of my body. I mean, it was amazing. And that was like maybe 2004. So we're talking about 18 years ago. And even to this day, like last night, I used one too. Another page, and I use it when people use these glyphs, I tell them to use one or two at a time. But once you get to use a lot of them, but I put that between my hand when I woke up, and I could feel stuff coming out of my legs. I mean, you hold stuff all in so many parts of your body, and the same is true of toxic matter. There's a glyph to remove toxins, and so you can take a sheet this size, put it under your feet for the glyph to remove toxic matter for detoxing. I encourage people to use one on the top of their head to get the detox glyph will take out all the heavy metals and chemicals out of the body. Any chemical, Roundup, fluoride, you name it. And so I take one and I put it on the top of my head at night to get all the chemicals and the heavy metals out of the body. I take 4 of them. I put it under my rib cage to get, and I include with that a strip of 4 of the glyphs to remove parasites, which is in the first book, and put it under the rib cage on the right side to clean out your liver. Put it on the left side next night to clean out your spleen. You don't need to use the parasite one every time, but I would use a parasite one pretty thoroughly at first, and then you can let that go and then do it again a few months later, because you never know when you're picking up parasites. And you may not have any, but it doesn't matter. Nothing's hurt. If you use a glyph, if you use 10 glyphs and you only need one of them, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't hurt to use a glyph that you don't need.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing.
So
It's like playing with it, trying it out, and seeing how it feels.
right, absolutely.
Experimenting even.
Yeah, experiment. There's no wrong way to use these glyphs. There's no wrong way to use them. And as far as detoxing, I would suggest a little lemon juice, a little lemon and water in the morning is always a good idea. And I was told, and this is going to sound crazy, a couple spoonsful of clay, and I'm talking about mixed up with water. When I get up in the morning, I take I have a little jar, I mix some up and make it real soupy, because that stuff is nasty if it's not real soupy. It's still nasty, but that's okay. I do that on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. A spoonful or 2 spoonsful of clay. And that's another good thing to use.
That's for detoxing the body?
Yeah, it clears out. Yes. Yeah, that's what helps me clearing out toxic matter in the body. And again, letting go of the negative beliefs, the belief that you can't get healed a lot of people, they say, well, I've got this issue and high blood pressure, and I'm just going to have to live with it. The doctor says I need these pills and I'll have to take them the rest of my life. That is baloney. The cause of high blood pressure, the underlying cause of high blood pressure is buried resentment and anger.
Mhm.
And so all the pills you take won't do any good if you don't let go of, you don't get rid of what's down in there. And there's a glyph that will pull out that anger and resentment. And I was working with someone who I knew they had a lot of anger in him, and he put his hand just for a second on the glyph to remove anger and resentment, and he jumped it back like something electrical had hit him. He was like, what?
Mm. So there was something there, so for
Oh
sure.
yeah, it was something there. He felt that. He
Yeah.
felt it. A lot of people can't feel it. And
Right.
so it's, and this season, well, let go of this cold and flu season. You see,
Mhm.
that's part of the programming. We live in the matrix, and they have us programmed down to the last thing. And so we just need to stop. And when we listen to something, and don't believe everything you hear or read, and think, is this what I'm hearing? Is this to put me in fear? Is this to empower me? Or what is the goal of what they're saying? Is it to control you? If it's to control you, you just cancel that one, and you don't need to worry about whatever they're saying. You have to use good discernment. Good
Mhm.
discernment. And sometimes when you're dealing with other people who are gonna think that's kind of crazy, then you just best not to say anything.
Yeah,
I don't,
I agree.
yeah, I think it's best. I don't work with skeptics. I just don't even bother with skeptics. I don't need the negative energy. And when it's somebody says, well, why don't you try to help your neighbor? She's got this and that. No, my neighbor knows I'm here. And if God wants it, that my neighbor to come over to find out about the glyphs, and somebody, her guides will take care of it. And
Exactly.
when you start on something like that, you're kind of, oh yeah, you want to everybody try it out. And I think your best off is just leave it up to spirit. Leave it
Mhm.
up to spirit. Okay.
Yeah, I agree totally. Yep.
Yeah. I have a neighbor that's got breast cancer, and she knows they even bought one of my books. And so now she's going for radiation. And so, well, I didn't say a word. I don't say a word. That's fine. No, go
Mhm.
ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Myself. And one of the things about the glyphs is that you can use them for prevention. And one of the things I recommend, like there's a glyph for malignancy. And I recommend people put a strip of 4 of them in their bra for a couple of days. And I would do one for the lymphatic system. It's part of our culture to wear a bra. I mean, it's just a part of our culture. We're not one of these natives in Africa that's just letting it all hang out here. And there's no doubt that the restriction of even just regular elastic, where I'm not talking about underwire, but that's going to interfere a bit with your lymphatic drainage.
Mhm.
So you can use the glyph for the lymphatic system too, to help that. And that can be a big help. And that one for malignancy, there's a glyph for malignancy. And we women should be using it on our breasts. We should be using it on our sacral chakra. You don't know anything about where uterine cancer is coming from, or ovarian cancer. A man should use it on their sacral chakra. I think prostate cancer is almost epidemic right now.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so
Prevention.
common.
Prevention is a
Right.
great idea to help us to be more empowered, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But what
Yeah.
being empowered, that first book that has glyphs to remove fear, to remove anger and resentment, to remove the sadness, remove the guilt, and to remove the heartache. And we all carry a lot of that.
Yeah.
We've all been through a certain amount of heartache. We've been through a lot of sadness. I don't think there's any of us who has escaped all of that.
Yeah,
Totally.
I agree. Yeah, so
Right.
we can all definitely benefit from the glyphs in the
Right,
first.
and use those often, because we have layer after layer after layer. We've been here hundreds of lifetimes.
Yeah,
Unless you don't believe in reincarnation, and then maybe you haven't been here then. Oh no.
exactly.
But what is it they say?
Exactly.
If you don't believe in reincarnation, that's all right. You learn about it next time.
That's
Right. So
Yeah.
anyway, and it's also got a glyph too for detoxification, and one to kill bacteria and viruses. And there are glyphs in the two glyphs in the manuals that will resolve any virus, any virus. There's also one to remove the Kool-Aid that people
Mhm.
consume. Okay. And the thing about I removed my any Kool-Aid. I was a military wife, so I was stuck a lot of times. And after I used the glyph to remove the Kool-Aid, I was no longer allergic to eggs, and I was no longer allergic to peanuts.
Wow.
So yeah,
Okay.
it really did made a difference to me.
Just,
And I get
go ahead.
I encourage people to seek out for your pets. I used homeopathic vaccines for my dogs
Mhm.
because I think the other ones have toxic matter, and that can affect the dog. I was contacted by one woman who she had a 2-year-old, part pit bull, part boxer, I think it was. Bulldog. No, it was a bulldog, and only 2 years old, and it was having seizures and tremors and everything. And of course, people go to the vet and they try to prescribe stuff, and the same with children. There's nothing they can do for them, really. Give them toxic prescriptions that just try to, just like a sedative. But I told her what glyphs to use, and there's a glyph to heal the damaged brain. There's a glyph, like I said, detox the brain this is the same as dementia,
Right.
Alzheimer's, stroke. Use a glyph to detox the brain. Use the glyph to repair the damaged brain, and use a glyph on the back of the neck for circulation. The glyph for circulation in the heart will remove plaque in the body. And when you put it on the back of that, one of the causes of dementia is a lack of oxygen in the brain. So you need to clear out that plaque in these arteries here.
Mhm.
Okay. So the one for circulation would be good for that too. And the one to remove the Kool-Aid from the dog.
Mhm. Okay.
And she put it on a surrogate. She said the dog had tremors so bad she couldn't put the glyph on the dog, even though it was short hair. But she said never had tremors or seizures again.
Oh,
Never.
wow. Nice.
That was it.
Good.
And so
Good.
I would love to be able to help these children that are really damaged by chemicals.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
they're coming at us from in their food, and in the jabs, and they're everywhere. Many of the ones that they're giving children, they have mercury, they have aluminum, they have formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is a leading cause of leukemia. And aren't we hearing a lot about leukemia in the
Mhm.
last few years?
Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
That is true.
So
Wow.
we need to clean up our life. We need to, and try your best. I do not buy much. I have to buy some things at the grocery store because we don't grow avocados and bananas here. So But I go to, we have a tailgate in the town where I go and I get locally grown organic food right from the growers. If you can
Mhm.
do that anyway, or even if you order them, have someplace you can order them from. Try your best to buy organic food. If you can't get organic food, and I should have brought this over. I make there's a way you can detoxify your food, and that's by getting a sheet of green cellophane and blue cellophane, and you put the blue on top. And then I put that, I bought a roll of it from someplace that was only $11. And then I put it in a plastic bag to protect it. And I have a little island there, and I put my food right there. And when I buy the food, I bless everything. When I got a bunch of lettuce and collards from the grower, and I bless everything because it will last longer in the refrigerator. It's not being a religious fanatic. It's just energy. It is positive energy. If
Yeah.
you took a copy of a prayer, let's say the Lord's Prayer, and you had typed on a sheet of paper, and then you just had a control one, and you put 2 containers of lettuce or strawberries, whatever, and you put some on the one with the prayer and some on the other one, the control one, the one with the prayer would last much longer than the others. So always bless your food. Bless it not just when you're going to eat, which is certainly a good idea, and your dog's food too, and your cat's food. Uh, but also just when you bring it home and you're unloading it and putting it in your refrigerator, it's time to bless your food. But it'll all last longer and it'll taste much better. And be grateful. Gratitude is just everything. Gratitude is so important. Years ago, we belonged to a Japanese healing organization. And it was kind of a cult, but nevertheless, that was where we were supposed to be. This is where we went to Japan and worked on a spiritual garden. But they said, if all you get is a bowl of rice, be grateful. And I think that's such an important thing because right now, and especially young people, I don't think they know the wordings. Many don't know the meaning of gratitude. So sometimes we need to be grateful for whatever little bit we have. And the more grateful,
Absolutely.
the more sincerely we are grateful, the more comes into your life.
Yeah.
And when it comes to money, the biggest obstacle to financial abundance is fear and a lack of gratitude. Just if I find a penny, to me, if I find a penny, that's a luck. That's a, oh, this is good. Something's good happening. And boy, if I find a quarter.
Even better. Yeah.
Right.
It's true.
All good things.
Gratitude and your intention and just, being of a high vibe, staying out of fear. They're all really they're necessities. It's not just like it would be nice to, but they're necessities to have an empowered life, have a life of peace and ease and just thriving, basically.
Right. Absolutely. And so that was my first book, but the second one, I had a lot of physical problems. And so a lot of times I didn't intend to write a book. I really didn't want to, but after I got the first one out, it's just the glyphs kept coming and I had a lot of physical problems. I had Raynaud's syndrome, and I had a heart problem and I can't even remember what all. And somehow I managed to heal myself of all of it. And so I just, a lot of these things, they can't help you with certain things. I'm not putting down the doctors and stuff. It's just they have no answers for you. There's no answers. And even brain, got a dog from the Humane Society. And she had a problem where she would get car sick if we try to take her somewhere. And so I asked, as time went by and I was doing all this channeling, one time I said, I wonder if God will talk to me. And I was standing in the kitchen at the time and I heard, well, yes, I'll talk to you. And I thought, I write everything down. Everything has got to be written down. I've got notebooks galore. And I was told, I felt like a time that was in the early days, and I felt like when I call God he, I was raised a Catholic, so I always would say he. I know it's not he, but I felt like I was being spoken to like a third grader, but I was a third grader at the time. And I got, you and I are one. You and I are one with all things. And it was just very simple. And then it said in that, please understand, you must speak out. And I feel that's a message to everybody. We all need to speak out. My big fear. But understand, you cannot learn if you do not speak out. And when you speak out, others will learn. And that was just like, oh my God. Oh my. And so it's been a tough journey, but that was 2004, and I managed to get the first book out by 2008. It took me 3 years to write the book, first one. So then the second one, I had a heart problem that was pretty bad, and I wrote a glyph to heal the heart. I wrote one to heal the lungs, and I just went on with all. I had a husband with glaucoma and cataracts. I wrote one for the eyes. And although my husband and I are now divorced, he wrote me several months ago, and his glaucoma has never returned. The glyphs did work for his cataracts and for the glaucoma. And so I just kept writing one. I thought every organ and gland, and somebody, right as I was finishing the book, they said, Jean, you don't have the pancreas. Oh, okay, let's write one for the pancreas here. What? Because that is so important, the pancreas. And so I tried to cover every physical problem. But even after that book, the situation with the dog, I was talking about the dog who would get car sick, and I think I got sidetracked. And I asked Source, I said, what can I do for my dog? And I was told that she had brain damage from starvation and dehydration as a puppy. And so I was told what to write. And that's how it is oftentimes. I will be told, I want you to write a glyph to, and in this one, it was to heal, and to heal the part of her brain that was underdeveloped. And we put it on her she was a little 30-pound Shar-Pei mix of some kind, and short-haired. And we put her right on her, and she rolled her eyes. I could tell she was feeling something. And then we had it on her every night before she went to bed. We put it on, and that was fine. And after a couple of weeks, she was better, but after 2 more weeks, never got sick again. But it did take 4 weeks to heal that. It took 4 weeks altogether. So, and some people say, well, how long does it take? Well, it depends upon what you're trying to do. Nerves heal quickly. Physical parts of the body, tissue are slower. Bones are often slower, although I've had people had real success with torn rotator cuffs that were really pretty successful. So, and then we just kept creating more and more. And when they'll write me and they'll say, do you have a glyph for, and they will name something I never heard of before. And what I tell people is look it up and see how does this illness manifest itself? Does it affect the lungs? Does it affect the muscles? Does it affect the nerves? And so, first of all, do your research and see what does it need. I do not, except for malignancy, I do not have glyphs for certain illnesses, because there's no way you could get, there are thousands. You just can't do it. But malignancy, I did have one for that. And so I just say you have to think, if it's muscular dystrophy, if it's MS or whatever, whatever it is, look it up. Parkinson's or a stroke, you think, okay, a stroke, you've got to use the one to heal the damaged brain. You've got to use the one for circulation. And but it's always emotional issues at the basis there. So you need to get yourself or them working on clearing out the emotions, because you may be able to relieve the symptoms, but the symptoms will come back if you don't get rid of what's underlying. Think about cancer. Have you ever had anybody you knew that said that, oh, now they're cured of cancer, and then it comes back? Okay.
Mm.
And that's because underneath is that anger and resentment. Anger and resentment is toxic. Fear is toxic.
Mhm.
Okay. That's internal toxic. Right. So, and the same with Alzheimer's. And you need to clear out the debris in the brain. And there's also emotional causes. When there's dementia and Alzheimer's, there's emotional causes with that too. So if you're working on somebody else, and oftentimes we do, I used to tell people, this is for you, don't, not for your father, but people want to help their family. They want to help their family. And
Mhm.
they were getting success. They were having successes. And like one woman, she was giving her father had Alzheimer's, and she put the glyph on him to heal the brain, and it was helping. And he'd even say he liked it. He said before he went to bed, would you put my glyphs on me? He said, and so it helps so many things, so many things. So anytime you have some issues, you think about how is it the body being affected, and what could be the underlying cause? And sometimes you have to do a little introspection. What am I holding inside of me? Okay. If something happens to you, you think, how did I draw this into my life? How did I draw this into my life? We create our own reality. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Do you want to take some questions, Jean?
Sure. We have some then. Thrilled.
Let's see.
I see somebody's hand up for a long time. Maybe she just forgot to put it down.
Linda, do you want to unmute yourself?
Yes, ma'am. Hi, Dr. Jean. It's so nice to see you. And I'm really thrilled that you're here. Thank you, Alara, for bringing her. Dr.
Mhm.
Jean, I have a friend that we've been working on for like a month. She has a daughter who is on suicide watch. Every half hour, they have to monitor her. They had her in a place that they were doing it, but they ran out of money. And now she is really in a very touchy situation. What would be the best glyphs, and which book are they in? Because I do have quite a few of your books.
Okay.
And wait, I've got one more question. How do you had a strip up with the glyphs on them? What do you have those glyphs on?
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
Yeah,
What do
you
you mean,
have
do I have?
yeah. Is that cardboard?
No, it's a higher quality paper. I think I got it at Amazon, where it resists moisture. It was a little more money, but it wasn't really that expensive.
It's just thicker paper.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's thicker and it does resist moisture somehow. So
And do you
let's
glue it on there then?
now this one I have next to my bed. You could put it under your feet at night. Sometimes I have a loose booty, I would put it under my feet at night. When I use just one glyph, I will tape it. I have a cloth tape. It's called Durapore. I got it at Walmart, and I find the cloth tape doesn't stick, doesn't cause a problem with the adhesive, and it comes off easily and doesn't leave a residue. Other times, like when I just put it between my hands, there's a time when you wake up in the morning when you're half asleep and half awake. And I will grab whatever glyph I'm really working with. I will grab enough, big enough to hold my head, and I will lay there. I did this with the one for Candida. I had Candida pretty bad. And so I put that next to my bed, and I grabbed it as soon as I woke up, and I laid there for a while, and I could feel the energy going up both my arms, and it went right up into my brain. I had Candida in the brain. And when it was working, I had a headache. And so I just hung in there as long as I could. And when I let go of the paper, the headache was gone. But I'd used it a couple nights in a row. And then I used it also on the abdomen too, where, you know, because, and Candida, you have to not kid yourself that you can eat all the candy you want and get rid of your Candida. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So what would I do with this young lady?
Okay, all right. So anyway, there's a glyph in the first book called Reaching Out.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and I take a whole page, and it's not this one, but the book has what's called a patch page where there's 16 glyphs.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
and I will take one of those of the reaching out, and I will take these. You take these little yellow sticky pads, and you take and put the name of the person that you're trying to help, and then you put the date. And then you state your intention, just like you're praying for somebody. And that I intend the energy from this glyph be directed at so-and-so. And then every night while they're sleeping, that glyph will remove a layer of fear. The next night, a layer of sadness, and it will go through all the different ones. That will go on for 8 weeks. It's subtle, but it does do, you know, it's the one thing you can do is you just keep on and then after the 8 weeks, think about these glyphs as your team, and they have consciousness, and you can talk to them. And you just say, okay, I want you to start all over again with day 1, and then go ahead and write on that pad a little piece of paper when you started it again, so you can keep track of where you are in the 8 weeks. Okay.
Yes.
There's also a glyph of higher consciousness, number 70 I think it's in the 3rd book or 2nd, I'm not sure. And you can use that one as well. Okay. The one for higher consciousness, they will send a separate set of guides to work with them that will help them.
Okay. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Are those the best ones then to use for her? I mean, because
Yes.
she is on suicide watch.
Well, yeah, I would say so. If she was really into fear, you could add with that, you could add the fear glyph or sadness for depression. So you could, there's no reason you can't use that one plus, so even though it's going to work with that thing, but that's probably what the best thing. I might put the one for sadness, whatever her issue is. I'm sure she's getting other help.
Thank you very much. You are
Mhm.
wonderful, and I just love your glyphs.
Okay,
And
thank
I'm
you.
so grateful that you did what you did and helped all of us. You are a blessing for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. All right, we're gonna go to Dawn has a question in the chat. She said, I have been using the glyphs all year and they have been so helpful. I am recovering from a neurological muscular disorder. They're helping me so much, especially with detoxification. What should I use for mold and fungus?
The Candida glyph. There's also one, when I got to the 3rd one, I had some for plants, and I believe there's a glyph in there for mildew on the plants. That one will also help. I see Manisha has got her hand up for a while. You see that?
Yep, Manisha, go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Hello, Alara. Hi, Jean.
Hi.
Jean, I have the question is, I went to Egypt a few years ago, nearly 7 years ago, and I was swimming in the pool. And I don't know whether there was some kind of reaction, but my skin tone changed. I became very dark. And I don't know if it's anger that I've been holding in my liver, perhaps, or I thought I'd check with you what you would recommend, please. Thank you.
I would be using all those emotional glyphs for sure. There's one for skin as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I would, and again, I would see yourself as healed. Talk to your body and say, okay, whatever lesson I need to learn from this, I'm ready to give that up. And I'm ready to be healed of that. Okay. It's just, does this cover your whole body?
Yes. Yes, my whole body. Yes.
That's interesting. Yeah, you want to detox your liver, yes, and your spleen. And also there's a glyph for your oh, what is the one here, Alara? Right there.
The thymus?
Thymus, yes, you want to detox your thymus. I use that one for the thymus. And I woke up at night and I smelled something. It wasn't bad. It was something strange in the house. And I was wandering all around the house and I thought, what is that? And what is causing that? And I never found anything, but I really believe it was toxic matter coming out of my thymus. If that makes any sense. But when you think about, have you ever been around old people or sick people that have an odor to them?
Mm.
I believe toxins in the body have an odor to them. And so I think that as you clean yourself, all the glands and organs are very sensitive to toxic matter. So every one of those glyphs to clean for the adrenals and for the thymus and for the thyroid, I would use them all. When I used the one for the thyroid, I could feel stuff drawing out of the body, out of my thymus. I mean, my thyroid.
So what I found interesting that you mentioned the spleen. I don't have a spleen. I've had a splenectomy. I reacted to some medication, and I don't have a large intestine because I bottled up emotions. So I think it's very interesting. I think
That's
all the
interesting.
detox. Yes.
I wonder if did that happen before this thing
No,
with the, oh,
no, that happened nearly 30 years ago. This happened about 7 years ago.
okay. That's interesting. Yeah, one of the unfortunate things about the medical establishment, rather than try to heal something, they remove it like it's a spare part. I mean, you wouldn't have a car that you took your parts out and left them out. Yeah, we need everything. It's better to try and heal it. It's just there's no money in healing it.
No, absolutely. Thank you so much, Jean. Thank you, Alara.
Awesome. Thank you, Manisha.
Thank you.
So there's a question from Lori in the chat. She says, I have a lot of anger inside of me. I constantly feel misunderstood. So is there some, I mean, I know you were talking about resentment and anger before, so maybe that can
Yeah,
help.
I would use that anger glyph. Use what I say when you buy that book, and people who can't afford but one book, I tell them make it that one with the unlocking the power glyphs, because we need all that. But use that glyph for anger and start with just one or two. And then I would work maybe every other night, every third night, and then next night one for fear, then the next night one for sadness, but then always go back to that anger one. I mean, I have my husband left me for another woman. I have absolutely no resentment whatsoever. And many people say, oh yeah, we worked together on my books. And he said, and people say, well, boy, that's really, I mean, how can you do? And I have no resentment. And so many people hate their ex. I mean, that's toxic. That's
Yeah.
toxic. If you hate your ex, if you hate your mother-in-law and you resent them, that is toxic. That is.
Absolutely.
Okay. I just feel better. She can have him.
Exactly. Patty, you want to unmute yourself? Oops.
Yes, thank you, Lara. Hello, Dr.
Mhm.
Jean. Quick question.
Party.
Can the glyphs be also used on animals, on dogs and cats?
Oh, yes. People sometimes say, do I have to believe in them for them to work? And I say they work great on animals and they don't believe in anything. But in a way, they work better on animals because they don't have any judgment. They don't have any expectations. They're not wondering how long is this going to take? You know, they just are. They just are. And they make the best subjects, whether you use them right on the animal or use a surrogate. And when I work on animals, I tend to use as a surrogate a teddy bear. And I put the glyph. I had one instance where next door where they had 15-year-old Chihuahua, and it was it wouldn't even drink water. It couldn't eat, and it couldn't even drink water. And they took it to the vet, and the vet said it had kidney failure, and it had canker sores in the throat so bad it couldn't swallow. And so they called me and they asked me for help. And so I used a teddy bear, and I put a glyph for virus because a canker sore is a virus. And then I put one for healing rapidly. There's one for a cellular repair that will help heal things rapidly. I put that on the dog, the teddy bear. And then I put a glyph on for the kidneys and for detoxing the kidneys. And the next day it started drinking water. And the day after, it was eating again. And they brought the dog over to me a week after it started, because he was a feisty thing. He hated me. I mean, he was a barker. I mean, he just was barking at everybody, but they brought him over and he was doing fine. And they went to the vet was amazed. He was just amazed, because they were ready to, the vet recommended putting it to sleep. And a lot of people just can't deal with that. So.
I have one other question. The particular dog I am thinking about has been diagnosed with cancer, a mass in his stomach, but also what is called laryngeal paralysis. So it's a constant panting, panting, panting. What would you recommend for that laryngeal paralysis?
Oh boy, that is a tough one. This is an older dog, right?
16 years old.
Yeah, right. Of course, the older an animal is, and the same with people, it's harder to heal the older people of something serious like that. And you have to remember too, animals take on a certain amount of our energy.
Yes.
And so I don't know what the situation is at home, but that may be part of the problem. But there's a glyph for malignancy, and the one for I would say a neurological healing one for the panting and for the nerves. There's about 3 in the books for different nervous situations. I would try that.
Okay. And how long do you leave these glyphs on, whether it's an animal, a surrogate, or a person? How long do you leave them on?
There's no way to say, because you don't know how much they're holding of something. It's just like I tell some people, how do you with detoxing? How much toxins have you got in your body? What are you eating? But you can never leave them on too long. There is no problem with leaving them on too long.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I tell some people they try something and it stops hurting, and they feel so glad it stops hurting. Don't quit using them when they stopped hurting, because hurting is kind of the alarm stage. That's really telling your body, say, hey, there's a problem here. So you want to get to before that. You want to get before that point. So you want to keep work on healing it. But also remember, diet and exercise are critical. They are critical. You need to eat wholesome food, and you need to get some exercise, because you can't get well doing the same thing that made you sick. And if you're sitting in front of the TV eating popcorn and potato chips, you're going to pay for it. Okay, you're going to pay for it. You need to love yourself enough to take care of your body. That's where you want to get. You need to love yourself enough, because people just say, oh, well, I can't give up my ice cream. I can't do that. And you reach a point where you start to change your diet a little at a time. And you can change. You can change.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can substitute something, just halfway in between, or instead of eating it every day, maybe once a week. I don't know. I've got
Thank you, Dr. Jean, so much.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, Lara.
All right. There's some questions in the chat from Deborah. She says, I have glaucoma and have lost significant peripheral vision. How can the glyphs help me heal and restore the health to my eyes?
Okay, there's a glyph for the eyes.
There is.
And it works, both of them, the same glyph works for the eyes, but they understand something about like glaucoma. Glaucoma is not the eyes, it's the lack of energy moving. And when I used, and if you get the books, it will tell you, the books have instructions on how to use it, and it has a prayer or affirmation for each one. But the one for the eyes, it tells you to use them like they're on the back of your neck, right where the head connects to the neck. There's like a depression. Put one on each side there. And when I did that, I didn't have a problem with my eyes. But when I put it there, I could feel the energy just all of a sudden going up and down on each side of my spine. And then it said to put one under the arms. And then there was, I think it said to put one on top of the arms too. And so with my husband, he had an appointment for surgery for his glaucoma and his cataracts. And he never put them on for himself. I had to put them on him every time. And he was fine with that. He was always happy to go along with that, but he didn't ever do it for himself. So before he had that appointment, I had put them under his arms and on his back here. And so when he went for the appointment, the doctor said, well, what are you doing here? You don't need surgery. And so that was really amazing. And the fact that now, at least 10 years later, his glaucoma never returned. Now, there are some eye drops available on Amazon that helps with the cataracts and glaucoma. And they're called Dr. Christopher's Eye Bright Drops, and they're only about $11. And I think I noticed when I first used them, they just made my vision really sharp. And people who have tried them, now I see a lot of people, there's the reviews, some people said they're burned their eyes. They have a certain amount of cayenne in them. And when you use them, you have an eye cup full of water, and one drop, it's a concentrate, just one drop. And then you use it to kind of flush out your eye, and it's going to burn a little bit. It's not intolerable. It didn't, I could handle it. And then after you use it a while and you build a tolerance, then you use 2 drops. And then there will be a certain amount of mucus coming out, and it's literally coming out of the lens. One of the reasons we get cataracts is we get a film inside the lens, and the cayenne and the eye bright will pull that matter out. And don't be alarmed if you see it's not an infection. It's just debris coming out of the lens.
Good to know. Thank you.
It is, right? It's certainly not expensive. There's a Dr. Christopher's that's got a lot of stuff out there. He lived years ago in Canada, I believe, and came out with a lot of powerful formulas.
Awesome. Then there's a question from Renee. Which glyphs can be used for opening up telepathic abilities, and which book are they in?
Okay, again, we need to go back to clearing out all of the emotional issues. And meditation is important. Meditation is important. And it just comes automatically. When I'm sure you've all had the occasion when you think about calling someone and all of a sudden they call you. And so we're all connected. We're all connected. And you're with a group of people and somebody starts to say, oh, that's just what I was thinking. That's just what I was thinking. So it's something that kind of happens automatically. It does. Once we let go of things that are troubling us. And Diana, is it really cold there? I see you. Is somebody turned down the deep freeze here?
I know she looks cold.
Yeah.
Good morning. Hang on. Good morning.
Good
Can you hear
morning.
me?
Yeah.
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah, it's 9 degrees Celsius here. Oh, okay, because I'm looking at my mobile on the other side, and it's supposed to be 23 or 24 degrees Celsius, but
Oh,
we've been having extremely unusual weather in Melbourne / Victoria, and
Uh-huh.
well,
Right.
there's also
Yeah, we
lots
did-
of there's
right.
lots of geoengineering. Oops, I might have
Oh,
said
I know.
something
I know. Right.
that might set everything off. Sorry. Yeah, well, but I also
Yeah.
have an issue with temperature modulation, and I've had COVID in April, and so I also
Uh-huh.
lost quite a lot of my hair. My hair fell out, and
Uh-huh.
so yeah, I am a
There's
bit
a
cold.
glyph. There's a glyph in the 4th book for nanotechnology. When I wrote the first When I wrote the first one, I didn't even know what that was. But nanotechnology is insidious and it can affect the body in so many ways. And long COVID can manifest itself in many ways too. And and the glyphs will help with that.
Thank
They will
you.
help with long COVID, right?
good. Awesome. Thank you, Diana. And get warm. Turn on the
Yeah,
heater.
right.
Oh no,
Mhm.
no, my partner's at work at the moment, and yeah, he's got all these early morning meetings, so he's got the heater on, and
Ah.
we can't afford to buy a new heater, and electricity prices in Victoria have gone way beyond the solar system, like prices per kilowatt there.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Stupid.
right. Yeah.
So maybe Diana needs the circulation glyph too, you know?
Circulation glyph, absolutely. You need the glyph for
Yes.
circulation.
Yeah,
Are
that'll
you,
help.
do you exercise, Diana?
Yeah, I get out in the garden and
Oh,
try to spend an hour a day weeding, and then my partner and I try to do a fair bit of exercise, like a walk every day, but then it's been raining every day, so which I think is something that they are
yes, you're right. You're right.
mm,
I think they are
and
causing us to have such cold weather here too. It's getting
and
down to well below freezing here.
And it's
where
gonna
are you,
get cold here
Dr.
too.
Jane?
What's that?
Where are you,
Diana?
Dr. Jane?
I'm in Franklin, North Carolina.
Ah, right. So you're the north of America, as in, yeah. And then
Right.
Alara, you're in Canada. Okay.
I'm in Europe right now.
Oh, I
So
see. Oh, right.
it's still
Ah, okay.
same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Same type of
same.
temperatures. Yeah,
hmm
good. All right, so I have another question from Linda in the chat. I think she's talking about moles. Which book has the one for molds? Molds
Oh,
and
Mayor's
for the-
taking moles, MOLES.
I'm gonna
Okay,
say
I
she's
thought you
going
were,
with moles.
it's moles and little animals. Is that what the problem is?
No, like moles on the skin.
Oh, I would use the one for skin. There's a glyph for skin. There's also one to remove tattoos. I would try that one too. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
But removing them, that's going to take time though, because it had to go. And now I had one myself. I was really found it very annoying on my right breast. And I also bought some stuff, from this not essential oil, but some place that had these oils that were almost like homeopathics, and and I put that on, but that really irritated. I was itching and it was really bad. So I just went with the one for the skin. And that it took a while, but it's gone. It's gone. Yeah.
Mhm.
But I guess whatever was in that oil, it just I tried it and it looked like it was working, but then all the skin around was inflamed and it was really itching. So I think the glyph worked a lot better. And if you've got something, you could even use it as a surrogate on yourself. But remember, when you're using a surrogate, touch base with your glyphs. Like if you're like, think about them as your team. And if you have these team working for you, then you want to get together with your team every few days or once a week and just thank them, or, you know, just thank them and say, keep up the good work, or, you know, whatever feels right.
Absolutely. So there's a few more questions in the chat, which we'll get to in just a second. But I want to take a moment and talk about the packages, Dr. Jean, just so that everybody can see them. I'm putting the link in the chat. So it's alara.at/show/Jean11. And I'm going to share my screen. All right. So there are 2 packages. So package A is the 4 books, as well as the Sacred Symbol of Mu ebook. And then package B is everything in package A, plus the programming statements and the 1-hour personal session with Dr. Jean. So we've talked about all of the books already, right, Dr. Jean? The four books, I think.
I wanted to tell just briefly about the Sacred Symbols of Mu. That I built a chapel on my land here, and I wanted to put some stained glass window on there, and I wanted to have some kind of a symbol that was meaningful. And so I went up where my bookcase is, where all my books are, and there was a book laying on the floor. And so I picked it up and I put it back on the shelf. And then I turned around to walk away, and bloop, it landed on the floor again. And so I knew that I thought, oh, we have a message here. We have a message here. And it was the Sacred Symbols of Mu. And so it was written by John Churchward, Colonel Churchward. And I opened it up, and where I opened it, there was a symbol that was just right for the chapel. And so I used that symbol when I created the cards too, on the back of the cards. It's of a star with rays of light coming from it.
Nice. Yeah.
And so that is with the glyph now in one of the books. I was told that years ago that there would be this virus coming, and it would be a serious virus, and I was immediately given that image of that picture of that star. And so that glyph is in the 4th book, that will heal any virus.
Awesome. So that's package A, is all those ebooks, and there are 2- and 3-part payment plans available for package A as well. Please do use the gift code from me, TACS10. And then package B is everything in package A, plus the programming statements and the personal session with Dr. Jean.
Yeah, like I say in there, the glyphs are like there is a program. Each glyph, it has a programming statement that is not in the book with the glyphs, because some of them may be as much as 2 pages of programming. And so there's a package that is about 20 pages long. You'll get a PDF with 20 pages. And that's helpful for those who are healers, or who are going to be teaching something, helping other people. You want to look things up to get more details. It's got a lot more details in than the book.
Yeah. And then the personal session with you, Dr. Jean.
Right, and that's an hour, but you can divide it into 2 half hours.
Yeah, and it's basically they can ask anything about, like, the different glyphs or conditions or whatever, right?
Right.
A wide range of topics and subjects are available. So package B is, again, 2- and 3-part payment plans are available, and please use the gift code TACS10 as my gift to you. And again, these 2 packages are available at alara.at/show/Jean11. So there were some questions in the chat that came in right when we were talking So Deborah was saying that there are several eye bright eye drops on Amazon. Which one do you recommend? I don't know. I have no idea.
I just asked for the Dr. Christopher. A lot of them are the same one. There'll be different places that are selling the same thing.
Yeah, so Dr.
So it
Christopher's
may be the
eye bright.
same or maybe, yeah, right.
And then Linda's asking, how do you stop a person? You can't stop anybody, number one. How do you stop a person who doesn't know she is full from food and doesn't know when to stop?
The situation with, and the people say, if you got a glyph to lose weight, and people eat a lot because they're searching for solace. When they're eating, it's satisfying some need they have, and their need is actually for love or for satisfaction inside that something is missing. And once we learn to love ourselves, that helps a lot. That it helps when people have a weight problem. You've got to learn to love yourself enough. And when you love yourself a lot, you can say no easier to letting go of food that you shouldn't eat.
Yeah. So there's a lack of love, a lack of self-confidence, self-esteem.
Searching for solace.
Yeah.
Right.
So what glyph would they use?
All of the emotional healing ones.
All the emotional healing ones. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
There you go, Linda. All the emotional healing ones in the first book. All right. Any other questions for Dr. Jean about the glyphs or about, conditions that you may be having yourself?
Is there anything? Did I not cover? Did I cover everything I said I was
think
going to
so.
talk about? Detoxing and restoring and letting go of toxic emotions.
Yep.
And try to stay off the TV, especially the news.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think we covered
And use-
everything.
Right, and use the glyphs for, I'm trying to think if there's one more for prevention. In the fourth book of Sacred Symbols of the New Age, I put a lot of appendices in there with protocols for serious medical problems, for dementia, for, I put, and the same thing I put ones to help them with what ones for prevention too. Because there's a lot of the heart glyph. That's a good example as a heart glyph. You could prevent heart problems. You could prevent a heart attack by using the heart glyph, because the heart glyph will remove plaque, and it also will adjust the electrical beating of the heart. I know one woman, her husband, they wanted to put a pacemaker. He was 89, and that's a terrible operation for her. And so she put that on him every night for 2 weeks. And when they checked him again, they said he didn't need a pacemaker.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Mhm.
Good.
Right.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, sometimes people have questions about how they can use the glyphs, but
Right. Mhm.
nobody asked that question today, so that's okay too.
Mhm.
No, and you can use the glyphs for food.
Let me
and
tell.
water.
Oh, I forgot one thing I wanted to tell. I've also found I had used them for hay fever, the glyphs, and that got kind of a nuisance because I didn't want to put a piece of tape on me every day, and I really had hay fever pretty bad. So I tried this is a glyph for allergies, and I thought, well, I'm going to try putting it on a bottle of water with a little dropper bottle. And so I used that, and by golly, it worked. I don't need to use the glyph anymore, and the dropper bottle is so much easier. And so I went ahead and started putting other ones on to see if they'd work. And I'm very sure they work. I can't guarantee everyone, because the glyphs do such a variety. Some of them are extracting things from your body. The others are putting frequencies into your body.
Right.
So
Okay.
I would just go ahead and try it. Go ahead and try it.
Exactly. Yeah, try it. Yeah. Good. Awesome. But again, always remember to work with the emotional glyphs first, because we have a lot of emotional wounds and wounding. And so the more that we can clear all of that first, the easier it'll be for all the other things to just work better.
Right,
Right?
right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. Good. And then again, let us know how you were using them. Let us know what you're experiencing, your testimonials, what changes you're experiencing. I'm sure Dr. Jean would love to know as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love pictures. Yeah.
Mm.
If it works for your dog, send a picture of your dog.
Yes, exactly. Pets, of course, plants, what was I
The
thinking?
animals love
Gardens
the
as well.
Yeah, the animals love the glyphs. I get more pictures of cats sitting on top of the books, and there's one of a dog, a big lab. The woman made a glyph blanket, and she sent it to her daughter, a blanket with
Oh,
all the
wow.
glyphs on. And the dog immediately claimed that blanket as his own, and she had to make another blanket for her daughter because the dog just wanted to lay on that on those
Oh, that
glyphs.
is so sweet. Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that is so sweet. That's a great idea. So like, kind of like a quilt, you take different
Yes. Right.
glyphs and put
Uh-huh.
them together. Wow, nice.
Right.
Wait,
Yeah.
that's very creative.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Nice, good. Yeah, it'll help. It'll help for sure. No, this was great. This was awesome, Dr. Jean, and lots of good questions as well. And of course, there's like, just start using the glyphs and see how you feel and ask questions, for yourself intuitively. How long should I put it on for? How long should I keep it on for, etc. And you'll get answers once you start, but just trust that they are working. They cannot do any harm. They are working, they're helping, they're healing, and just go for it. Right?
Yeah, and I wanted to mention to give Diana some hope. After my hands were always cold, and I had bad circulation, and I didn't realize when it happened, but I don't. I'm in my mouth there sometimes, and I'm looking at somebody else, and they think, and I thought, well, I seem to be holding my own here.
Yeah, I used to be like that too. I used to always be cold, and my hands were always cold. Now I'm not anymore, so thank God, because I used to be that way
Yeah.
too. There's hope, Diana. There's hope. Not to worry. All right, everyone.
Okay,
So thank you. And thank you, Dr. Jean. Again, the packages for Dr. Jean are available at alara.at/show/Jean11. And thank you, Dr. Jean. It looks like you still have light, or is that just the light from your room?
it's the sun is behind the mountain.
Okay.
The sun goes behind the mountain about 4 o'clock, and it's still daylight, but there's no sun here anymore. So,
Yeah.
but
yeah.
I'm doing okay. I think that the screen has helped a lot too.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. So thank you. And thank you everybody for all your questions, comments, and feedback. Please continue using the glyphs. Please continue working with Dr. Jean, and you'll start to see transformation and change. So, and let us know how you're doing. Right. So thank you again, Dr. Jean, for being with us again. We love it when you're here. And thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Oh, tomorrow, everyone, the show is at 9 a.m. Eastern, okay? 9 a.m. Eastern, not 3, but 9 a.m. Eastern. So we'll see you in the morning. All right, thank you, everyone. Bye for now. Have a great day.
Bye-bye. Much love to everybody.
Much love and blessings. Bye for now.
Love you.
Love
Love
you
you
too,
all
Linda.
too.
Bye.
Bye.